You don't need to provide the best product or service anymore in order to be successful. It's all in the branding. So today I'm going to be talking about 4 concepts that'll get your branding to that next level. But before I get into it, I want to talk about performance marketing versus branding. See, performance marketing allows you to use all the data, analytics, customer information that you get, your conversion rate data. Performance marketing is all about using that data for the short term. It's all about improving little minute details on the website, on the ad copy, on the email marketing, but it's not really thinking about long term. Branding is the long game. It's about establishing an aesthetic, creating a community, establishing an audience that is all about what you do, what you say, how they relate to you or the products you sell. And it's not just me saying that performance marketing isn't important, but there's a strong correlation that your brand can push your sales and increase the longevity of your business. In fact, whenever we work with a brand, the number one term that people end up finding that brand through is not organic keywords that they optimize for. It's always the brand name that is number one because they have established themselves as the authority within that niche. In fact, according to a recent study, higher brand awareness can increase your conversion rate by 3 times. We've even seen people get a ROAS of 31 because of brand recognition. That's really unheard of because whenever a brand starts out and they start doing ads, the reality is that they're going to be getting 2, maybe 3 ROAS. So for every dollar they spend, they'll get 1 or 2 back. That's pretty painful whenever your margins of profit are like 30% for a product. So in other words, while they're both important and really should be used in unison, your branding is what is going to set you up for long-term success because it'll reduce the cost of acquiring a new customer because they're like, hey, I've heard of that brand. I already have a lot more trust in them. Increase the ROAS of every dollar you spend on ads, you'll get more back, and increase long-term commitment to your brand by your customers. So these 4 concepts are really going to supercharge your brand awareness so that you can lay that foundation so that you can continue to grow your brand, increase your sales, and improve your marketing efforts. The first concept is the 1% rule. The 1% rule is a concept around small daily improvements for big long-term wins. Brands often want to leap from $0 to $100,000 overnight, and that's not realistic. The small 1% changes every day is what sets you up to be established as a successful brand. The 1% daily improvements can come from tweaking your email funnel, polishing your photos, testing new copy. Those tiny consistent wins can compound, and by this time next year, mathematically you're 37 times better than where you started. Now this concept can really work for anything, but I approach this concept with brands because there's a whole ecosystem of ads, email marketing, content marketing, social media that you have to work with, and if you're compounding all those changes to each one, they all dramatically add up. Let me put you an example. Whenever we're working with a client and we're doing their email marketing, and let's say this client is getting 1,000 visits a month. Typically when we start with a client, they're maybe getting 1-2% submission rates on their email list. So that means after a full month of 1,000 visitors, they're getting anywhere from 10 to 20 email submissions. We often aim for improving that incrementally over time. We'll test whether visitors sign up with the 10% discount more, with the 15% discount more. We'll use a concept called confirmation bias. Instead of saying unlock 10% off, we are saying you have unlocked 10%. On the call to action, we'll have a claim discount now, and on the other one, you'll immediately have the option to provide an email. What's easier, typing in your email or clicking on the button and then typing in your email? It seems counterintuitive to make people work a little more, but because they've already pushed that button and confirmed their choice that they want to unlock 10%, that action alone sees an increase of 50%. So we'll go from 2% to 3 to 4% overnight just by doing that small trick. We'll test whether the sign up pops up in the first 10 seconds or when people are clicking off. It's all a matter of doing all those tests so that you can see those little incremental improvements. The key is consistency. If you're posting content, you do it every day. Whatever your cadence is, whether it's daily, weekly, you gotta stick to it. You want to be able to see what you're doing wrong and improve little by little. The second concept is Google's 7-11-4 rule. This is all about building trust through multiple touch points. Google says people need about 7 hours of exposure across 11 interactions in 4 different places before they feel comfortable buying from you. Basically, you gotta show up a lot in a lot of different ways over and over again, because brand awareness is a numbers game. I've seen it a lot in brands I work with where they'll be focused on TikTok or Instagram or on their SEO, but it's really about using all of those things in unison, because then they'll realize that they are completely reliant on one platform alone. Now look at TikTok recently. A lot of people freaked out because that is their main source of income. The moment the algorithm changes, you're done. That's why you need to go beyond Instagram, beyond TikTok, beyond SEO. Personally, my favorite is email marketing, because you consistently can reach out to an audience that you have built. But we're using all of them in unison. Multiple channels means multiple chances at getting your brand seen, getting that trust from your audience. So you really got to ask yourself, where are you showing up? If it's only on one platform, pick another one. You got to build trust by allowing people to see you in different ways, in different channels. Longer YouTube videos, longer reels, emails, live streams. The more they see you, the more comfortable they are with you. I brought up this concept of people needing more interactions with you, more touch points, depending on how expensive your product is. If you have a $10 to $20 product, maybe people only need to see your product 1 or 2 times before they buy. But for example, we have a client that has a $1,500 to $3,000 product. On average, people are visiting that website 18 to 25 times before they purchase. They're doing research on your product, they're seeing reviews, they are engaging with your other customers, they are learning about your product and your competitor's product before they come to you. The third concept is the power of association. Partnering upgrades your perception. When it comes to brands, the power of association is probably the most important thing. So many brands out there are trying to get influencers, user-generated content, reviews. They're willing to pay top dollar because association is establishing your brand as, oh, Kim Kardashian is using that product, I gotta use that product too. People judge a brand by the company it keeps. If you collaborate with brands that are known for quality and exclusivity, you will soak up that association. I've seen brands skyrocket because they made the right associations with an influencer or certain user-generated content. It can be really simple. You can sponsor an event, you can cross-promote content. You see Nike teaming up with Skims and everyone thinks Nike is crazy for doing this. The reality is that both brands are providing each other's audiences. So association is a very powerful thing, but the biggest influencers aren't gonna work with a brand that is a nobody. You gotta establish yourself first, and then maybe one day you will get that big influencer, or maybe it's a budget thing. But you gotta be smart about it because the wrong associations can also just bring down your company. So you gotta look for partnerships that align with your brand and your vibes. Brands that share your ethos. That's how you build a premium feel without faking it. So the fourth concept is the mere exposure effect. The mere exposure effect is all about creating affinity through exposure. Familiarity breeds affinity, a connection to your audience. The more you show up, the more familiar you are to an audience, the more sales you'll get. You just gotta show up. This is exactly the type of thing that Coca-Cola does. Coca-Cola's everywhere. They are on benches, buses, billboards. That's why they provide every liquor store ever with Coca-Cola vending machines. They are just dominant because they show up and are so familiar that you are just incapable of getting another drink. People are more likely to like something just because they've seen it more often. That is the mere exposure effect. It's similar to the 11-7-4 rule. On a psychological level, the more they see your brand, the more they trust you, provided you're not spamming them with nonsense. This is why consistent content matters. This is why retargeting ads matter. This is why emailing your list multiple times a month is important, because you create that connection with them by consistently just showing up and providing them value and information about your brand or product. If someone sees your name, your face on their feed every day, you're giving value, you're sharing real insights. They start to feel like they know you, even if they never met. So you gotta use stuff like retargeting ads, because when someone clicks on your website, you'll be able to get that information, feed it back to Meta, TikTok, Google, and say, hey, I want these ads in front of my customers because they didn't purchase. I have their information though. Keep them coming back. I need them to have a relationship with my brand. Through Google's own terms, you need 11 different interactions. And I'm gonna keep reminding them that I exist with relevant, helpful content. But you can also go overboard with it, so just pull back. Don't be too pushy. Nobody likes to be stalked by ads. The sweet spot is just showing up enough to be top of mind, but not so much to be a nuisance. But there's also something called ad fatigue, where if someone sees your ads too much, your ad costs start going up, they start being less effective, and a ton of other problems. So if you're ready to level up, here is your blueprint. Improve by 1% every day. Hit the 7-11-4 sweet spot by diversifying your brand touchpoints. Upgrade your perceived value by partnering with other brands that align with yours. Leverage the mere exposure effect by just showing up, building trust. Show up consistently so that people actually remember you. I've worked with enough brands to know that these concepts really are game changers. Some brands merely refuse to iterate little changes here and there, and they'll just stay stagnant forever. But when you implement these, you really get to see results. If you got any value out of this, drop a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. If you'd like my agency to help you scale by running ads, running your email marketing, or optimizing your website for conversions, follow the link below and you can sign up to work with us, or email me at hello@brandmore.ai. Remember, I'm documenting our journey to 50,000 followers as well. As I build our brand up to the next level, follow along so you can see how we get to new heights.